The security guard at Silver Lake Estates did a double take when he saw my 15-year-old Honda Civic. I could almost hear his internal debate: call the police or risk offending someone important enough to have the gate code. "Ma'am, this is a private community," he said, leaning toward my window with practiced authority. I smiled, remembering how my daughter-in-law had once used that same tone when telling me I couldn't attend my grandson's 5th birthday party. "I know, I'm the new owner." His face flickered between disbelief and panic as he checked his updated resident list. I watched realization dawn as he found my name, not as a resident, but as the property management company's CEO. Ms. Zhang. We weren't expecting. Clearly, I handed him my ID, but then that's rather the point. The gates opened silently, and I drove past perfectly manicured lawns and Mediterranean-style mansions. My son Michael's house, or rather my house now, sat at the end of Monarch Drive, its 3-story facade gleaming in the California sun. I parked behind my daughter-in-law Victoria's Range Rover, knowing how she had it detailed again. Image was everything in her world, which was why she'd spent the last 5 years ensuring I stay firmly outside it. The doorbell chimed. It sounded exactly as pretentious as I remembered from my last rejected visit. Victoria opened the door, her carefully maintained smile freezing when she saw me. "What are you doing here?" She glanced nervously at the street, probably worried her neighbors might see. "Michael's at work, and the children are at their activities." "I know." I held up a folder. "I'm here to discuss your lease agreement." "Lease?" She laughed, that practiced social titter she'd perfected. "We own this house." Actually, I stepped past her into the marble foyer. "You don't." "Not anymore." "This is ridiculous." She pulled out her phone. "I'm calling security." "Your new security company?" I settled onto her imported Italian sofa. "The one I hired last week." That stopped her. "What are you talking about?" 5 years ago, when you told me I couldn't attend Tommy's birthday party because I might embarrass you in front of your friends, I made a decision." I opened the folder. "I decided to learn exactly what sort of people would judge a grandmother's worth by her bank account. If this is about class differences, this is about choices, Victoria, like your choice to return every Christmas gift I sent the children, or your choice to tell the school I wasn't authorized to attend their performances." Her perfect posture stiffened. "We have certain standards." "Yes, you made that clear when you told Michael his career would suffer if he kept bringing me to company events." I laid out the documents one by one. "So I set some standards of my own." "What are these?" "Property deeds, for every house in Silver Lake Estates." I watched her manicured hands tremble as she picked up the papers. It's amazing what you can accomplish when people underestimate you. No one notices the woman in modest clothes buying up shares in their management company. "This is impossible." But her voice had lost its condescending edge. "Our house wasn't even for sale." "Everything's for sale at the right price. Your neighbors were quite eager to sell once they saw the offers. Even your father's company agreed it was a sound business decision." She sank onto the opposite sofa, her designer dress wrinkling. "Does Michael know?" "About his mother secretly buying his house?" "No." "About how his wife has systematically cut me out of their lives?" "Yes, as of this morning." The security footage I'd sent him had been enlightening. Years of documented incidents showing Victoria turning me away from their door, instructing staff to deny my existence, even throwing away the handmade blankets I'd knitted for the children. "You can't just change everything," she whispered. "Actually, I can, and I will." I stood smoothing my simple skirt, starting with the new community guidelines. All residents must participate in monthly neighborhood dinners, hosted in rotation, regardless of occupation or income. Children's parties must include all family members, and the community center will now offer free ESL classes and job training. "You're destroying everything we built here." "No, Victoria, I'm building something better." I walked to the family photos lining the walls, pictures that carefully excluded me. "Your lease renewal depends on community participation. Real participation, not just writing checks for charity galas. And if we refuse, then you can explain to your social circle why you're moving to a less prestigious address." I turned to face her. "But before you decide, you might want to check who owns most of the other prestigious properties in the area." The door opened, and I heard my grandchildren's voices in the hallway. Victoria moved to intercept them, but I was faster. "Grandma?" Tommy's eyes widened. At 10, he barely remembered me, but Lucy at 7 had never known me at all. Hello, sweetheart. I stayed where I was, letting them decide. Mom? Lucy looked uncertainly at Victoria. Is this really our grandma? Victoria's perfect mask cracked just slightly. She looked at the documents, at her children's curious faces, at the empire she'd built on exclusion, now owned by the very person she tried to exclude. Yes, she said finally. This is your grandmother, and she's staying for dinner. Actually, I picked up my bag. I have a board meeting, but I'm free tomorrow for that tour of the house you've been promising me for 5 years. I headed for the door, pausing beside her. Oh, and Victoria, the children's birthday parties this year will be at my house. The one with the Honda in the driveway. As I drove past the gate, the security guards snapped to attention. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about changing the rules that made you uneven in the first place. The Silver Lake Estates Community Center buzzed with uncomfortable energy as residents filed in for the first mandatory neighborhood meeting. I watched from my modest metal folding chair as Victoria and her social circle huddled in their usual corner, designer handbags clutched like shields. The new owner can't seriously expect us to attend monthly dinners, Margaret Whitman stage whispered. Some of these people probably eat at chain restaurants. Did you see the email about the community garden project? Patricia Reynolds added. They want us to actually dig in the dirt. I checked my watch. Exactly on time, my assistant began distributing the new community guidelines. Gasps and murmurs spread as people read the requirements: monthly volunteer hours, participation in cultural exchange programs, and mandatory inclusion in all community events regardless of social standing. This is outrageous. Howard Preston stood up, his golf tan darkening with anger. We bought into this community for exclusivity. Actually, I rose from my chair. You rented into this community. And now the terms have changed. The silence was immediate. Victoria sank lower in her seat as her friends turned to stare at her mother-in-law, the woman they'd been happily mocking moments before. I spent the past 5 years watching how this community treats people deemed unworthy, I continued. The service staff you ignore, the delivery people you force to use the back entrance, the families you exclude from your children's parties because their parents work in retail. We have standards, Margaret began. Yes, you do, self-serving ones. I walked to the podium. Let me tell you about different standards. My parents worked 16-hour days in a restaurant to put me through college. They taught me that real class isn't about what you own. It's about how you treat people who can't do anything for you. This is ridiculous, Patricia huffed. We'll appeal to the board. I am the board. I smiled. And the new rules are non-negotiable. Participate fully or find new housing. Though you might have trouble with that, since I also own most of the other luxury developments in the area. Victoria finally spoke up, her voice strained. Mother Jean, surely we can discuss this privately. Like you discussed keeping me from my grandchildren. I held up my phone. I have 5 years of security footage showing how you privately handle family matters. The room shifted uncomfortably as clips played on the wall screen. Victoria turning me away from parties, instructing security to deny my existence, throwing away handmade gifts I'd sent the children. That's different, she protested weakly. You're right. It is different, because unlike you, I'm not excluding anyone. I'm simply requiring this community to actually be a community. I nodded to my assistant, who unveiled the new community center schedule: ESL classes, job training programs, cultural exchange dinners, and youth mentorship opportunities. Your lease renewals, I continued, will depend on documented participation. Not donations, actual involvement. And yes, Mrs. Whitman, some of it will involve getting your hands dirty in the community garden. You can't force us to associate with. Howard caught himself. With whom? People like me. I raised an eyebrow. The ones who built the fortune that just bought your privileged world. The door opened and Michael walked in. My son's face showed the strain of his morning spent reviewing years of security footage, seeing for the first time how his wife had systematically erased his mother from their lives. Mom's right, he said quietly. This changes today. Victoria's perfect composure cracked. Michael, you don't understand. I understand that our children don't know their grandmother because you decided she wasn't good enough. He turned to address the room. My mother spent her life building something meaningful while we wasted time judging people's worth by their zip codes. That ends now. The meeting continued with detailed explanations of the new requirements. Some residents stormed out, presumably to call their lawyers. They'd soon discover that my legal team had made everything perfectly binding. Afterward, as the shell-shocked residents filed out, Tommy and Lucy ran in from their after-school programs. "Grandma," Tommy called out, no longer hesitant, "can you show us the pictures of Dad when he was little? He said you have albums." Of course, I hugged them both, noting Victoria's pained expression. "How about dinner at my house? The one with the Honda in the driveway? Can we, Mom?" Lucy turned to Victoria with pleading eyes. Victoria looked around the community center, at the ESL class setting up, at the retirement home residents arriving for their computer lessons, at the world she tried so hard to keep separate now merging whether she liked it or not. "Yes," she said finally. "We can have dinner at Grandma's." As we left, I overheard Margaret Whitman asking her husband if their realtor had any listings in other exclusive communities. "Don't bother," I called back. "I own those too. But if you're interested in actually earning your place somewhere, the community garden needs volunteers tomorrow." Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about teaching people the difference between net worth and actual value. And as I watched my grandchildren skip ahead, chattering about what they wanted to learn about their father's childhood, I knew this lesson was just beginning. 6 months later, Silver Lake Estates had transformed. The once pristine community garden now flourished with vegetables and herbs, tended by an unlikely mix of former socialites and local farming experts. Children's laughter echoed from the playground where private tutors and public school teachers worked together in the after-school program. I sat on my modest front porch, sipping tea from my favorite chipped mug, watching Victoria awkwardly plant tomatoes with Mrs. Garcia, our former housekeeper who now ran the gardening education program. "Mother," Michael joined me, setting down a stack of community center reports. "The Cultural Exchange Dinner Series is fully booked. Even the Whitmans signed up. Amazing what people can learn when their housing depends on it," I mused, remembering Margaret Whitman's initial horror at having to cook her own contribution rather than having it catered. Victoria approached, dirt smudging her designer gardening clothes. "Mrs. Garcia says we'll have enough vegetables for the community food bank by next month." She hesitated, and she's offered to teach me her family's salsa recipe. "The one you used to complain was too spicy when she worked here." I raised an eyebrow. She had the grace to blush. "I've learned a lot these past months." Indeed, she had. The transformation hadn't been easy. Several families tried to fight the new requirements, only to discover that their precious social connections meant little against my legal team. Those who stayed had slowly, sometimes grudgingly, begun to participate in the community they previously only occupied. Tommy's teacher mentioned his history project. I said, "About family immigration stories?" Victoria nodded, settling into a porch chair, something she wouldn't have done 6 months ago. "He's interviewing Mrs. Garcia's family." And she paused. "He'd like to include your story too, about how you and his grandfather built everything from nothing." The mention of my late husband brought unexpected tears. He would have loved seeing our grandchildren finally learning about their heritage, understanding the value of hard work and genuine connections. "Did you know," Michael said softly, "that Lucy told her class she wants to be like Grandma when she grows up? Not for the business empire, but because she makes everyone feel like they belong." Victoria twisted her expensive wedding ring, a nervous habit she developed since the change in ownership. "I never understood before. About belonging. I thought it was about keeping people out, but real belonging is about bringing people in," I finished. "Even when, especially when, they're different from you." The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the neighborhood. Through the trees, I could see Patricia Reynolds teaching English to the gardener's children, while her own daughter learned Spanish in return. Howard Preston's car dealership now offered apprenticeships to local vocational students. The community center hosted weekly dinners where Michelin-starred chefs sat beside home cooks, sharing stories and recipes. "The children's birthday party is next week," Victoria said suddenly. "I thought, maybe we could host it at your house. The one with the Honda in the driveway." The olive branch wasn't lost on me. "Only if Mrs. Garcia makes her special enchiladas." "And you'll teach the kids to make dumplings like you used to make for me?" Michael asked hopefully. "Of course." I stood brushing off my simple pants. After all, that's what real family does, shares their history, their traditions, their true selves. A group of children ran past, a mix of residents' kids and those from neighboring communities that were no longer kept at bay by security gates. They were playing a game that involved both designer toys and handmade crafts, neither group caring about the difference. You know, Victoria said thoughtfully, Margaret asked me yesterday if you'd consider buying her sister's country club. Apparently, they're having similar inclusivity issues. I smiled, thinking of the portfolio of properties sitting on my desk. Maybe it's time for more communities to learn what real class looks like. As the sun set over Silver Lake Estates, I watched my grandchildren join the others in their game. Tommy was teaching Lucy how to make dumplings out of Play-Doh, just as I taught Michael decades ago. Victoria stood awkwardly nearby, clearly wanting to join but unsure how. Go on, I nudged her. Being part of a real community means sometimes getting your hands messy. She joined them, tentatively at first, then with growing enthusiasm as the children welcomed her into their circle. Michael squeezed my hand, both of us watching his wife finally learn that the best social circles are the ones that keep expanding, not contracting.